Welcome to episode 4 and Select Basics Part 2. Now in this episode we are going to look at the keyword which is where. Now this is a really important keyword and this is what allows you to be more specific with the data that you are returning. Now when I say filter, imagine you've got a jug of water and you've got a filter in it and you're filtering out everything that you don't want. All the nasties, all the parasites, all the things that you are not interested in and that you don't need. Well, this is what where is used for. So let's take a look in SQL Server Management Studio. Here we are in SQL Server Management Studio. Now you'll remember from Select Basics Part 1 where we selected everything being asterisks from person dot address. So if I run this, we can see all the address information within the AdventureWorks 2019 database. Now what we want to do is we want to reduce the amount of records that we are getting from 19,614 to only the records that have the city London. So what we need to do is we need to look at the second process that SQL uses, and this is where. So what we can do is type where, and then what we need is we need a column name. And in this instance, because we want to limit the number of records to a particular city, what we need is the city column. So if we start typing city, we can see that IntelliSense is starting to recognize that actually there is something that looks similar to CI within the database. And I think it's city. So we can double click on that, and that is now the start of our filter. But where and city isn't enough. What we need is something to filter on. And this is where we've got different operators that we can use. And what I mean by operators is we've got equals, so where city equals something, so equals London, or we've got something like city is greater than London, less than London, not equal to London, and not equal to has two different methods of writing it. One is using the greater than and less than symbols, and the other one is using an exclamation mark followed by an equals. And this is simply personal preference, but what I would do is I would stick to a particular standard. They both do the same and it's entirely up to you. But in this instance, what we need is equals, and we need London. So what this will do is this will reduce the number of records from 19,614 to only the records that have a city called London. So if we run this now, what we can see is that we've got 434 records and these all have the city London. If we scroll down to the bottom, yep, every single one is London. But what about if we want everything that isn't London? So we use this. And what we can see is, if we run this, 19,180 records. So that's it for the where condition. And hopefully you can see how it's extremely useful for minimizing the amount of data that you're bringing through. And this is really important when you are working in, it doesn't matter if you're working in an engineering role or an analyst role. If you have a table that has a billion records in it or hundreds of millions, and you run something like select star from, you're going to have problems, and you're probably going to cause problems for other people as well. So when the opportunity arises, always try and use a where condition. So a quick challenge for those that have been watching the video, what I want you to do is I want you to return all the records that have the city Cambridge and see how many records you return. And then for those who maybe know a bit of SQL, what you can try and use is try and figure out what you need to use to return the records for London and Cambridge. Now in part 3, what I'll do is I will cover off one of the words that you can use to actually return the records for London and Cambridge. And also in part 3, what we are going to start to look at is aggregate functions. And what I mean by an aggregate function is its sum, average, count. So this is where we get into the mathematical functions, and what we'll do is by the end of part 3 we will have written a query that includes all 6 parts. So thanks for watching. If you've got something out of this, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in episode 5.